Welcome to an All the Talk, All the Sports podcast. I'm your host, Gary Wenzel, alongside Eli Hauser. And today, we will be telling you who you need to draft in your fantasy football drafts this upcoming season at the running back position. It will be our top 10 running backs going into the 2022 NFL season in full PPR scoring. Without further ado, this is our running back list at All the Talk, All the Sports. Eli, I'm going to start off by asking you, I'm pretty sure we all know who it's going to be across the board, basically everyone. He was the running back one last year, but we'll start it off at number one. Eli, who is your running back one this year?
I have Jonathan Taylor, obviously. I'm sure you have that too, but he scored 20 touchdowns last year, and it just seems so repeatable. Like, they brought in Matt Ryan to replace Carson Wentz, and he'll still continue to get the checkdowns and the goal line touches. It just seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, the Matt Ryan addition certainly does help to Jonathan Taylor's case. Carson Wentz, I wouldn't say is a bad quarterback, but I do like Matt Ryan a little bit better. He's got more experience in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor will have another great year. I can't say that I'm 100% positive that he's going to finish the running back one, but how can you not put him at the running back one? So I have Jonathan Taylor at the running back one position as well. And Jonathan Taylor this past year, he averaged 22 fantasy points per game. And I'm sitting here and I'm saying that's really good. That's running back one quality. But compared to previous years, it's not as good as some of the previous running backs. And that's why I'm not sure with guys like Christian McCaffrey, if he has a healthy season, Austin Eckler maybe coming back, that I'm not really sure if Jonathan Taylor will be the running back one again, because in previous years, the running back one was having upwards of 25 points per game, and that's a little bit on the low side for a running back one at 22 points per game. But nonetheless, you have to keep him at the number one spot, so that's why I have Jonathan Taylor there. Number two, Eli, who do you have?
I have Christian McCaffrey, and I think we might disagree here, but he's been injured back-to-back seasons, but when he's on the field, he's the best running back in football, in my opinion. So I think if he does stay healthy, I think he'll finish as the RB1.
I agree with that in a sense that when he's on the field, he is the best running back in fantasy football. The upside there is just so amazing. And now you bring in Baker Mayfield, so now he even looks better. I don't think the Baker Mayfield-Sam Darnold argument has too much to do with his production, but if anything, it helps a little bit.
Yeah.
I have Christian McCaffrey at 2 as well. I was battling between Austin Eckler and Christian McCaffrey at 2. It's early. I could change that. I change it daily because in our fantasy football league this year, I have the 2 pick, and I don't know if I want to go Austin Eckler or Christian McCaffrey, and I think about it every day. It keeps me up at night. But so Christian McCaffrey, when he's healthy, he's the best player on the field. Last season, he only averaged 18 points per game. He did have 2 games where he was hurt. That's calculating that in. So he was looking at about 24, 25 points per game. Obviously, he'd have some bad weeks in there, but he probably, if he played 17 games or 16 games, he would have been the RB1 and he would have been top 3. In the 5 weeks that he played healthy games, he was in the top 5 running backs every single time. He's going to give you consistency when he plays. The only thing is those injuries, and I want to talk about those injuries a little bit. He's been injured like 5 times in the past 2 seasons. He missed 23 games the past 2 seasons. He played 5 healthy ones last year. The previous year in 2020, he didn't play nearly as many.
I think he played 3.
Yeah, but 3 healthy games.
Yeah,
but the injuries that Christian McCaffrey are having experts are saying they're unlucky, and they're not career ending. Like he's never torn an ACL. He's never had any issues like that. They're not career ending injuries. They're just unlucky, and there are some that he probably could take care of, like the pulled hamstring, I think, in week 3.
Yeah, against Texans.
Yeah. He's not, you can say he's injury prone because he gets injured a lot, but he's still healthy. He's coming into the year fully healthy, and that's what you want to see in a running back. So is it a stretch of bad luck? Because previously he played 3 healthy seasons, the full year, right before he started to get hurt. So, Eli, do you think he's injury prone? Like, would you classify him as that?
I wouldn't, just because what he does, like, he tries to get back on the field. Like, that, I value that a little bit. And I like to add, like, Baker Mayfield supported Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and they were both top 24 backs a season ago when Baker actually was playing well. But injuries are going to happen when you have that level of work, like when you have that workload. So I don't read too much into the injuries, honestly.
I mean, it is something you have to worry about while drafting, obviously, and that's up to you. And if you don't want to take the risk on CMC because you want to draft a team that's going to stay healthy and stay consistent the whole year, that's your decision, and that I totally respect that 100% through and through. But yeah, Christian McCaffrey, arguably the best running back in fantasy football, best player in fantasy football when he's on the field. And do you think the Panthers maybe limit his workload a little bit this year?
I think they limit his running, like his rushes. I think he stays in the field for those pass catching downs, and that really is what separates him from guys like Derrick Henry or Najee Harris, and even Jonathan Taylor at times. When he's on the field for all these third downs, it really helps his weekly finishes. When Derrick Henry can't catch the ball, there's only so high he can go. So that's why I like McCaffrey at my 2.
So in McCaffrey, here, week 1, he had 21 carries and he had 9 receptions. Like, the 9 receptions in a full PPR league, that's what gets him the 27 points is what he had. And he didn't even find the end zone that game. So if he finds the end zone, that's like a 35-point game right there. So he had 21 rushes the first week, 24 the second week. The third week we can't count because he got injured. He had 7. But when he came back in week 9 against the Patriots, he had 14 rushes, 13, then 10 and 10 again. And then the receptions, they all stayed the same. His reception work actually went up the second time. So I think the Panthers, I don't think you're going to see Christian McCaffrey rushing the ball 25 times. I say 15 max. But he's still going to get the receiving work, and he's still like so powerful it'll get the yards too. So yeah, that's why I have Christian McCaffrey at 2 as well. Number 3, looking over at your list, I think we disagree on this one. Who do you have at 3?
I have Derrick Henry, and I think he's the safest. Like when you're at the top of the draft, I think him and Cooper Kupp are the safest picks, obviously outside of Jonathan Taylor. But I mean, he's going to be the focal point of the offense. No more AJ Brown, so anything in the red zone, you know he's the first priority. So I think, and his touchdown upside is just crazy. I mean, in his last season in 2020, he had almost 400 touches. It's really hard to not finish as a top 5 back when you have 400 touches. I just feel like he's so safe. Even though I like Eckler, I like McCaffrey, they're not nearly as safe as Henry.
I like Austin Eckler here at 2, and Henry is a great running back. The only thing that I don't like is in the PPR, I don't like his reception work. If you're in a standard league, take Derrick Henry at 2, 100%, because he's going to get the yards. He touches the ball like 30 times a game just running. But I have to go Austin Eckler here. He was the running back 2 last year to finish the season. You can argue he's getting a little old. He's 27. That's like about the peak age for a running back, and I think he's got another good year or 2 in him. And Herbert had him great last year. Eckler found the end zone 20 times last season. It was like 8 reception touchdowns and 12 rushing touchdowns. I think like that. Yeah, something like that. Don't hold me to that. But I like his red zone touches too. Last year in running backs, he got the second most red zone touches out of any running back. So I like this offense a lot in the Chargers. They score over 30 points almost every single game. So there's a good chance that you're going to get touchdowns out of him. The previous years, he hasn't really gotten too many touchdowns. It was like 11, 3 in 2020. He only had 3, but he only played 10 healthy games. And then last year, he skyrocketed with 20 total touchdowns. I don't think you're going to see 20 touchdowns. I think you see 15, maybe 14, 13, somewhere around there. But that's still really reliable. And I like his reception work as well. It's pretty similar to Christian McCaffrey. He works a lot in the receiving role, so that's why I have Austin Eckler at the 3 spot. Moving off to the 4 spot now, who do you have there?
At 4, now this is where I have Austin Eckler. I do think you're going to see some touchdown regression. I mean, 20 is a lot, especially for a running back that's not known for carrying the ball. But he's still an elite offense. Justin Herbert loves to check the ball down. I think this is where you see like a tier break in running backs. And whatever order you have him in, I think this top 4, the Taylor, Henry, McCaffrey, and Eckler, those have to be the top 4. They're just so they all are just so impactful to their teams when they're on the field. So yeah, I like Eckler at 4.
So my 4, we're just gonna flip it. I have Derrick Henry at 4. The only thing I don't like is his pass work. PPR last year, week 1 he had 10 points. Week 2 he had 47 points. So I mean, if he gives you a 47-point game, you win that week.
I think he had a few receptions in that game too.
He had 6.
Yeah.
That's 3 more than his average of about 3. But still, he found the end zone 3 times. If you have a 47-point week out of anyone on your fantasy football roster, you win that week. The next week he had 19, which is solid. 25, 31, 35, 16. Then he got injured. Those are all really solid weeks. I love Derrick Henry as well. Like I said before, I have 2 pick. Can't decide between him, Eckler, McCaffrey. But let me know who I should take at the 2 pick. McCaffrey, Eckler, or Henry in the comments, because I am struggling with that decision, and we still got like 2 months yet, but I'm overthinking it a lot. But Derrick Henry is super reliable. Would you consider Derrick Henry injury prone?
No. I think last year was a fluke injury. I think one of his offensive linemen stepped on his foot. It was nothing. I think he'll be fine this year. He is 28 though, so you do have to kind of.
And his workload is going up.
Workload, when you get 30 carries a game, that's gonna you'll break down sooner than other guys.
Derrick Henry, you mentioned the departure of A.J. Brown. Do you think that Derrick Henry, that helps him a little bit more, or does that hurt him because the defenses can focus more on him?
I've kind of went back and forth on this. I've thought of it like A.J. Brown's gone so they can stack the box, really focus on Henry. But then I'm like, Derrick Henry could be just the absolute focal point of the offense. Their wide receiver 1 right now is Robert Woods or Treylon Burks, a rookie. You can't depend on those guys to be a wide receiver 1. So that's normally when teams go to the running game.
And then you have Derrick Henry in the backfield as well.
He's obviously the best player in your team. Go to him early, often, and it should work.
All right, so that was our top 4. We'll move down to 5 now. Who do you have at 5?
This is where we're going to disagree because we've had the same players just in different orders so far. I have Joe Mixon. I think he had a career year last year. Obviously, the Bengals had a great year. Went to the Super Bowl. I mean, they only got better. They improved the worst part of their team, which was the offensive line. So that only helps Mixon and Burrow. And Joe Mixon was so impactful in the check down game and the design running back flare outs. I think that can happen again. I think his season's very repeatable because he had 13 rushing touchdowns, and I think he only had a few receiving touchdowns, but he wasn't like Austin Eckler last year where he had 20 touchdowns. He did it through catches, he did it through yardage. But yeah, I don't like some of the other running backs later as much as I do like Mixon. And Mixon's going as the 7th off the board. So
that's a steal.
Yeah.
That late.
Yeah.
I changed it before we came on air, and I didn't tell you I have Mixon at 5 as well. So we didn't disagree quite yet. He did have 16 touchdowns, 3 of them are reception, and then 13 rushing. And I think you could see 16 again, somewhere around that 15 range. I like his reception work, I like his rushing work, and I love the Bengals offense with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and then Joe Burrow as well. I mean, Super Bowl team again, maybe not, probably not, but I still like this offense to score a lot of points, and I think Joe Mixon is a very reliable back that you can get mid-late first round. He might fall to you. You have the 10 pick, and I know that's who you're targeting at 10. So he's really good, and then you get that quick flip over, so you get a really good, reliable running back at 5 overall, and then move on to the rest of your draft. So I like Joe Mixon as well at 5. 6, who do you have?
This is where I have Najee Harris, and this is going to sound bad, but if Big Ben was there still, he would be a lot higher for me. I mean, Big Ben just checked the ball down so much. Najee had, I think, 70-some catches last year. That's not going to happen again with Trubisky or Pickett at quarterback. It's just not. And they're already saying his volume's going to decrease, which you have to do that with bigger, slower backs. So I think no more Big Ben leads to higher downfield targets for receivers. He's a high floor, low ceiling guy to me. But I have the 10th pick in our league, and if Najee fell to me at 10, I would love it. Like,
yeah,
it's not bad taking Najee. I'm not as high on him as I would have been last year.
Yeah, I have Dalvin Cook coming in at number 6, and I know you actually moved him down pretty late before we came on. But I like Dalvin Cook a lot. His average draft pick is going around, where is it going? 6 off the board, which is right around where I think he should be. You can argue that he gets hurt a lot, which he does, but then he's also very consistent when he's on the field. He's not going to give you those like low weeks. He only had 2 weeks out of like the 10 games he played that he was under 10, which those are really bad, like, but they don't happen that often. I think he's got a chance to spike back, and if he's healthy, he's really good. I don't know. I think with Justin Jefferson, that only helps him a little bit more, and Adam Thielen, it takes a little bit of workload off of him, and it distracts the defense a little bit. So I have Dalvin Cook at 6. I know you want to talk about him. You have a little bit more notes, but Dalvin Cook's at 6 for me. Dalvin Cook's at 5 for me. 6. Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, he's at 6. So he had Najee. I had Dalvin Cook. Who do you have at 7?
7 is one of my favorite running backs this year. You know it. We've done mocks. Leonard Fournette. I love Leonard Fournette this year. He's going as the 13th running back off the board, which is insane to me. I mean, he finished as the RB5 last year, and his situation's just getting better. No more Ronald Jones. No more Gronk. Godwin's going to miss some time. And they did draft a third-round running back, Rashad White, but he's primarily a pass catcher. And a rookie with Tom Brady, it just doesn't happen. So I think he's going to get so much volume. He is 27, so you got to be kind of wary of it, but I love Leonard Fournette this year.
Yeah, I know you do. And you were grabbing him in the second round when you were doing mock drafts, so that's a really good steal. He's going to go early second round, somewhere around there, so that's a good pickup for your team. So you can get a good first-round guy, and maybe if you want to go with one of the receivers like Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, then you can grab a super reliable, what we think is going to be a top 10 back in Leonard Fournette in the second round. You're building off a really good team then. You got a good wide receiver 1 and a good running back 1. For me at 7, I have Najee Harris. I would have him a little bit higher. I did have him higher. I heard the reports coming out of Pittsburgh saying that he's not going to get the same volume, and he's not with Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky, but he's still going to be a really good back. So if he's a first-round guy, if he's there in the first round, 8, 9, 10, somewhere around there, you could grab him. That would be a really good pickup for you. So as we move on to number 8, who do you have here?
This is where I have Dalvin Cook. He's going as the 6th running back off the board, and that's just too high for me. I can't take him over guys like Najee Harris, like Joe Mixon, and he's going ahead of them right now. And he's never played a full season, so that's something that always has scared me. And I've liked Dalvin Cook in the past, but just not this year. New coaching system. I've heard it's going to be more pass heavy. They've got 2 good receivers in Jefferson and Thielen. Irv Smith's coming back. I don't love it, but he has to be a top 10 guy. He is a very talented running back.
Yeah, number 8, this one's going to shock a lot of people. I don't even think he's in your top 10, but I have James Conner at number 8. I love this guy. He had so many touchdowns last year. He really picked up once Chase Edmonds left to James Conner. I'm trying to pull up his stats real quick. But I know you might say he's going to have some regression, but with D-Hop gone for the first 7 weeks, so I think he's going to just do well. And Chase Edmonds isn't in that offense anymore, so who's the running back too? I don't even know who the running back is.
It's Darrell Williams.
Oh, Darrell Williams. That's not really anything that you have to worry about. He had 18 total touchdowns last year, which is right up there with the top guys that we were talking about, Taylor and Eckler. So I like him a lot. And touchdowns, they're very valuable in fantasy because that's 7 extra receptions compared to a touchdown, which is It's just 7 points right there. It's 7 or 6?
6.
6. Okay, sorry, but 6 points. I like his receiving work now a little bit more this year with Kyler. He didn't have it too much. He's averaging about 3-4 receptions a game, which is fine. And he's got some good speed as well. So I like James Conner at 8.
I like James Conner too. When they got inside the 10, even inside the 5, they gave it to him. It was him or Kyler. They weren't throwing on the goal line, and he just bowled people over. I mean, there was a lot of games that I played against him in our league, and he was good last year.
Yeah. Yep. So moving on to our running back 9. Who do you have?
I have DeAndre Swift. I keep going back and forth on DeAndre Swift, honestly. I don't know how I feel about the Lions' offense, but it is improved. It's undeniably improved. Adding Jameson Williams and DJ Chark is huge. I mean, their number 1 receiver last year was, I guess it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. But he was the RB5 before he got injured, which was just crazy to me when I found that out. But he was hit or miss last year. Like, I had him on my team in another league, and it was either 30 points or 8 points.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that comes with the Lions' offense, unfortunately.
And Jared Goff as the quarterback always is scary, but he checked it down a decent amount, and sometimes they were out of the game, so they pulled Swift. I keep going back and forth on Swift, but I do think his ceiling is insanely high. I think he could definitely be a top 5 back this year. And with the Lions' offense improving, I think he's got a good shot to do it.
Yeah, I think the Lions will do a lot better this year than they did last year. They started to improve at the end of the year. I have DeAndre Swift just sitting outside of my top 10. I have him at 11, so I could give that away. But for my number 9 guy, I have Leonard Fournette. We talked a lot about him earlier. You had him pretty high. Any running back with Tom Brady is going to do good. But Leonard Fournette, he had a great year last year. He found the end zone a lot, and he caught the ball a lot. Now that only goes up with Chris Godwin not there for the first 3 to 6 weeks. They're expecting. And then, like you said, Ronald Jones isn't there to steal carries as well. So I have Leonard Fournette at 9. And we round out at the top 10 running backs. Eli, who do you have?
Before I say my 10, I just want to give an honorable mention to Aaron Jones as my running back 11 and James Conner as my running back 12. Just missed it, and right before I was thinking about moving either one of them up to 10 instead of my guy at 10, which is Nick Chubb. I do love Nick Chubb this year. I get scared with the Watson suspension, but then I look at it from a different point of view, and I'm like, he could be the main point of that offense. And he could be that Derrick Henry for that offense. He is a very talented back. He's not so much a pass catcher, but when he runs hard and he runs downhill. So right now I have Chubb at 10 just because I think he could be the main point for the Browns offense if Watson gets suspended.
Yeah, I like Nick Chubb as well. I have him at 12. But for my 10th running back, we'll wait a little bit. Nick Chubb, I think if he gets Jimmy Garoppolo, I think it helps him a little bit more. If he doesn't and Deshaun Watson gets suspended, then that's the only thing that has him outside my top 10 is I don't know the quarterback situation. No one does. I don't even think Cleveland does. So, but that scares me a lot because it could either help him tremendously or it could possibly ruin his season and fantasy owners of him do this year as well if they're struggling to find quarterbacks from week to week. Number 10, I have Javonte Williams out of Denver. I know you don't really like him that much. Where do you have him, like 18 or something?
I can look if you want to start talking about
it. I like Javonte Williams a lot more this year because Russell Wilson comes into that offense, and I think that just improves it tremendously. A great upgrade from Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. I don't love the split backfield between Melvin Gordon, but I still think Javonte Williams is going to get most of the carries. He only had 7 touchdowns last year, which wasn't terrible, but it could be better. I think he gets around 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there. But he had a good stretch. 12 through week 15, he was averaging over 20 points a game, and then he fell off earth a little bit again. But he's got the potential for the spike weeks. I like his upside there in Denver. Especially that offense is going to be good now with Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and now Javonte Williams and Russell Wilson. So I think Javonte Williams will have a pretty good year, and he's a top 10 guy in my opinion at 10.
The only reason I'm out on Javonte Williams, and I do have him at 18 by the way, I think people have this thought that it's going to be like a Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt kind of situation. And I really don't think it'll be like that. Like I think that situation is more of a 75-25 split. I think this will be more like a 60-40 split. And I just don't want to take a running back inside my top 10 that won't be the featured back.
That's a respectable opinion. I have it more as a 75-25, sort of like in Cleveland with Javonte. So I see them working with him a little bit more. He's only 22 years old, fresh out of college. So I think he'll have a really good year. So that's going to wrap up our episode of Who You Need to Take at the running back position, our top 10 running backs. We'll see you in the next episode for our top 10 receivers.